and gentlemen, the sound of applause means that SWV should disappear, and it means that we are ready to talk some Chiefs football. Give me a little bit more, and there we go. There we go. All right, are there any Chiefs fans in the building that can hear me right now? Yes? All right. They're slowly paying attention in here as we are at Soiree Steak and Oyster House live in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District. Today is Championship Wednesday. Today we celebrated the Super Bowl 57 world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Yes. We are 2 for 2 or 2 for 4. 2 for 5.
Sound like a value meal.
Yeah, right. Right. Welcome to the Red Hour. This is our last and final show of the season, of course. And let's go ahead and introduce the crew to you. To my left, we have Professor Radio himself, cousin Darren Smith. What's happening?
All is well, man. Just glad we got a chance to celebrate a victory this year.
And we celebrate a lot of victories here in the last few years. I'm your host, Sean Tyler. To my right is nephew, Dr. Wall Street himself, Steve Walls. Nephew, what's up?
What's up, man?
I'm all good.
I'm just trying to make sure I didn't consume too many beverages at the parade.
I don't even know what that means. DJ Q was upset because his Philadelphia Eagles lost, and he didn't want to show up with his hair unmoisturized, so he is unavailable today.
Yeah, he told me, he said, I'm not coming because my team lost.
It hurts.
Right.
Jalen hurts. But to the right of nephew is somebody who is more than capable, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network, former Kansas City Chiefs very own Mr. Danon Hughes. Yes, so this game had its ebbs and flows, its ups and downs. It had its drama, and leading up to it, it had all kind of fun and drama as well, because we know that the trash talk continued. It even continued through today as we celebrated the Kansas City Chiefs with a big parade. And as I looked at the stats the day following this game, one thing came to mind, something that your grandmother used to tell you growing up: work smarter, not harder. Because if you look at the statistics, there's no way Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles lost this game. Jalen Hurts was 27 for 38, 304 yards. He threw a touchdown. His passer rating was 103. The score was 35. The Chiefs 38. But Patrick Mahomes was 21 for 27, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, Danon, I'm going to direct this first question to you, because all season long, we've seen this Kansas City Chiefs team play just enough to beat their opponent. And yet again, in the fashion that they played all season long, in the biggest game on the world's biggest stage, they do it yet one more time, play just enough to beat the number one team in the AFC, who's supposed to have the number one offense and the number one pass rush defense. And here we are celebrating another Lombardi trophy. What happened?
So first, before I get started, we got to go to about how about them Chiefs? Right?
What's up, Mike?
So this was a special game, and you guys have been gracious enough to have me on a couple times a season. I appreciate what you guys, Darren, Sean, Steve, you guys do each and every week. This is a great platform to interact with everybody about our beloved Chiefs here in the Chiefs Kingdom. So if you guys have not heard or seen this podcast or been a part of it, continue to check it out. Go back and look at it, because these brothers do an absolutely great job. Absolutely great job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So you guys have heard me say in the past that there are teams that know how to win and there are teams that figure out how to lose, right?
Yes.
And it always seems to be that the teams that play against the Chiefs are the ones that figure out how to lose, right? So people ask me, when Patrick went down, were you nervous? I'm in the booth with Mitch Holtis. I'm calling the game. We're calling during halftime. Are you nervous? This happens. We're down by 10. Are you nervous? No. There's no nerves that are going on in the booth. We're just okay. We've seen 24-0 down against the Houston Texans. Yeah. We've seen double digits down in the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. Like, so why should we freak out? Why should we be surprised? Like, we got the best player in the NFL, the best tight end in the NFL, the best coach in the NFL.
And the best
Coaches.
offensive coordinator
And the best offensive coordinator in the NFL.
See what you did there.
So there's no surprise no more. It's just a matter of, it's not a matter of like if, it's a matter of when. Are they going to do it in the third quarter, or are they going to make us wait a little bit into the fourth quarter? So, like, I wasn't freaking out. I just know that this team has something in their DNA that allows them to not, like, I specifically watch their sideline. My booth, and when I do the radio, is across from the Chiefs sideline, right? In the Super Bowl, not at home, in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I'm watching the body language. And as a former player, you know when cats are down, they're moping, they're pointing fingers. None of that is happening on the sideline. So I'm like, okay, we come out to the second half, we got the kickoff. So I said during halftime, I was like, we don't need to score points. We just need to have something positive happen.
Right.
We just need to move the ball in a positive fashion, because if you remember 2 weeks ago against the Cincinnati Bengals, the drive before half, the subsequent 2 drives after halftime, we didn't do anything. Right? And we still was okay. So they just said, we're just going to wait to the fourth quarter then.
Right.
This time they said, okay, we're going to take from the third quarter. We got 4 possessions. We're going to score on all 4 possessions. The only reason why we didn't score 4 touchdowns is because Jerick McKinnon slid. Otherwise, you got a perfect second half of a Super Bowl. So, like, if you're talking about pressure situations, that's the most pressure you can be, and our team could have scored 4 touchdowns against that Volta defense who hadn't played anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I wasn't
we
freaking
couldn't tell
out.
Q that. We've been telling him all season long,
Man.
when your team was 8-0, 10-0. It's like, dude, who are they playing?
They playing the Sisters of the Poor, School of the Blind,
And Dak Prescott.
and Aaron Rodgers. Come on now.
All right, so we walk away with the win, and this game, of course, was not without its controversy. And we'll talk about
Don't get me started on that, Sean.
Yeah. We'll talk about the officiating in just a little bit. We're doing it live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House, the final show of the Red Hour for the season. It is the championship show, as once again we are hoisting that coveted Lombardi trophy. So I'm not going to lie. I wasn't nervous when we were playing the Bengals, and I said, there's no way Joe Burrow's going to beat us 4 times. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So I wasn't nervous. I knew we were going to win that game. In this game, I was like, all right, this is going to be a good game, and that's all I really want. 2 black quarterbacks facing each other for the first time in history in the NFL in the Super Bowl. Then 2 brothers facing each other the other brothers facing each other for the first time in the Super Bowl. So it had its drama, it had its storylines, it had its buildup. But when Patrick Mahomes came hobbled up on that ankle again.
Oh, tell the truth.
I'm getting ready
Tell
to.
the truth. Tell the truth.
No. Start from the beginning.
Okay, so I always watch Patrick Mahomes' facial expressions in the beginning of the games.
There we go.
So usually when they're showing Pat warm up, and Pat's got this dumbfounded look on his face, like he's asleep on the inside, he's soulless. I'm like, oh, Pat's not here today.
Hey, but how do you know that? I wanted to ask you, but how do you know that that's not his game face? Like, you get guys that's like mean, but then you just get Pat, and he's just like, all right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You've never been married. So to be married to a woman with Britney's personality and have 2 babies,
They say love hurts.
Jalen hurts. But to have that going on, and Patrick, and those games that Patrick has that soulless look, he's lost those games. So I watched his facial expression, and we have this group text, and then the text like, oh, I saw his face. What are we looking at? So the game starts, everything's cool. But right before halftime, when he comes up hobbled from that play and he's grimacing, and they show him on the sideline, and he's about to cry and scream, and he's leaning back, and our group text go, oh, I'm ready to do laundry. This is anything can happen, but not against Jalen Hurts and that team. Because I guarantee you, if Henny had to go in that game, the outcome would not have been the same.
If there was a way to leave the conversation in that group text, you get the message. Steve Walls has left the conversation. I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it.
So I will admit it made me nervous. But Patrick Mahomes, when he played the Cincinnati Bengals, and everybody was worried about that ankle, and that was just after a week. Patrick Mahomes, went back in that game.
Yeah.
He was cussing out the medical staff. He was cussing out the coaches. He did not want to even go into the locker room.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I'm playing. Put me in. I'm playing. But they had to put him in, get him checked out for real, get him retaped, and came back in. In the week of media leading up to the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was adamant. Y'all keep talking about this ankle. It don't matter. If they chop this leg off, I am playing in this game.
Yeah.
So let's stop talking about this ankle. Let's talk about what we're going to do to combat this number one rush defense. Let's talk about what we are going to do to keep this our offensive line standing strong. And not near one, as your guy Travis Kelce would say, not near one of them said that the Chiefs had a chance at winning this game. So maybe 2 out of 20 sports pundits had the Chiefs winning this game.
Well, maybe 4. I guess they didn't hear me and Steve's prediction. I guess. But,
All right. So, but they counted them out. But all season long, halfway through, when we started looking at the playoff picture, and I'm looking at the NFL power rankings, week after week, the Chiefs continue to win. Even after they beat Jacksonville, who they said they wouldn't win.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were the number 5 in the power rankings. After that game, when we beat the Cincinnati Bengals, when they knew we could not beat Joe Burrow, the Chiefs were number 4 in the power rankings. There were 2 teams left standing for the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kansas City Chiefs were number 8 in the power rankings with 2 teams. They never, ever gave this team a chance. This team is so scrappy that in the beginning of the season, without Tyreek Hill, that was all the talk.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes had more touchdown passes. He had more passing yards. This team showed up like never before without Tyreek Hill. The weapons that he used ranged from his go-to guy in Travis Kelce to McKinnon to Pacheco to Juju. He was all over the place. Watson. He was everywhere. And that's what this team is all about. And Patrick Mahomes said it over.
Us, though.
He said it over and over in the media leading up to the Super Bowl. He said that I give props to this team because we play for each other.
Yeah.
And you saw that when he got hurt and went back in on that Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
That O-line looked at him like, bro, nobody's going to touch you.
Mm-hmm. That's why they had the shirt say 0 sacks.
0 sacks.
Yeah.
So now in the Super Bowl, they were 8 sacks away from making history. Not 1 sack. Patrick Mahomes' uniform did not touch the ground at the hands of a Philadelphia defender at all in that game.
So let me ask y'all this. Is Orlando Brown deserving of the new contract?
Yes.
He is, because he played well. It's just that the Chiefs were the better team in this instance.
There you go.
Okay, so and of course, in usual fashion, when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, it's always who is next in line.
Yeah.
So when we won the Super Bowl, it immediately began talking about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They immediately began talking about Joe Burrow. We knocked them out. We win again. Now they're immediately saying Jalen Hurts is coming back stronger next year. Watch out for these Philadelphia Eagles. They've got to pay Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
His rookie contract is up.
Next year,
Yeah. But so is a bunch of other people they got to pay. So he's going to lose protection.
I can see Jalen Hurts kind of going like a Lamar Jackson route type deal.
Franchise. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he gets you there, but can he do it again?
Well, see, I don't think it's going to happen because then you run into a Dak Prescott situation to where you're going to end up having to overpay.
And why you say that? DJQ, who's not here, kept saying in the Denver situation, it wasn't so much Russell Wilson, it was the coaching.
Yep.
So if we're looking at that, Philadelphia just lost 2 of their coaches.
Yeah. That's the head scratch.
They lost their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
They lost their defensive coordinator.
So if there's a huge increase in the salary cap this year.
$16 million.
To answer your question in regards to Orlando Brown Jr., I do not have a problem with re-signing him based on that factor. If it was a normal increase, I might question.
You might franchise tag him again?
Franchise who?
Orlando.
I'm saying you can do it twice. I'm saying you can do it twice, but
I just don't know. He doesn't seem like he has the makeup to just accept the second tag. Like I think you'd create some dissension with that, just like you would have with Tyreek.
I don't know though. I don't know because the friendship between Orlando Brown and Patrick is like
but
they have that kind of best friend thing right now. I know,
but that's why you give him the contract because one, he's earned it. I mean, look, everybody's talked about winning a Super Bowl after what happened last year.
Yeah,
you franchise tag him. He did his job when you put all the chips on the table. He did his job.
Okay,
hey, Patrick didn't get sacked in the AFC Championship game. Well, he may get sacked once, but he didn't get sacked in the Super Bowl at all. So I mean,
I don't have a problem with it. I just wonder because when you start to think,
the numbers?
The great thing is that the Chiefs do an outstanding job of the draft, and we could have possibly 9 to 11 draft picks in this draft that'll be in Kansas City.
I think we have 11.
Well, I think it's 11,
depending on the compensatory, right?
Yeah,
it could be up to 11, right? So that part was like, okay, well, could we utilize any of that for a tackle? And would that be beneficial? So there's some questions that have to go in because we draft so good. That's the thing. If we didn't draft so good, then I would say pay him. Let's move on. But we have the history of drafting so well with Brett Veach.
I get it, but my only pushback to that would be is why would you gamble with the protection of your $500 million quarterback? You got somebody that's been in the last 2 years that's done adequate to good to great job.
What's it going to cost them?
To draft another?
No. I'm saying
draft him.
I'm saying, but you got to draft. I'm saying, but you got to draft him. He got to be in the system. Got to Andy Heck. You got to train him up versus somebody who's been in the system.
While you say that,
for 2 years.
Look at what our rookies did this year. He drafted well.
I get that, but this offensive line was together the entire season.
No, Dan, is that luck of the draw, or is that just
is,
Brett Veach and Andy knowing what they're doing?
I think it's a mixture. Obviously, you always have to strike hot, but at the same time, you got to be able to coach cats up, and you got to be able to have coaches that are willing to coach people up. Oftentimes, we see in the NFL specifically, you see coaches take the easy way out. I drafted that kid in the second round. He's supposed to produce at a second round. Well, what's your responsibility as a coach?
Right.
Like these guys still need to be coached up.
And shout out to the Chiefs scouting team too, because
Willie Davis, ahead of that, former wide receiver, one of my teammates.
It's my guy.
Yep. Been outstanding in his relationship with Brett Veach and targeting talent to get them here.
It looked weird. I know it did. But when I talked to Brett Veach this afternoon at the parade, it's like, pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you. He's like, oh, no problem. It's like, no. Thank you.
Yeah.
As a Chiefs fan as a Chiefs fan who suffered through some teams that were really, really good and really, really bad that never got over the threshold, for Brett Veach to see what he saw in Patrick Mahomes and convince Clark and everybody that this is who we need.
Yeah.
And to see what we have produced in 5 years' time is amazing.
To trade up and do it too.
To trade up and do it.
With a postseason winning quarterback on your roster.
And I try to explain to people, I don't care how good your team is. We saw the AFC West spend $500 million to try to compete with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
In Tom Brady's whole tenure, you didn't see anybody do that kind of trading to try to compete with Tom Brady. And you saw how prolific Tom Brady's career was. In a 5-year span, no matter how good the rest of the teams were in the league, in the AFC North, AFC Central, any of that, the Kansas City Chiefs have been the most consistent winning team in the NFL. You're talking about a team that has hosted a record AFC championship at home, five times. That we actually call it the Arrowhead Invitational now. So there's a lot encompassing this team, and all doubters, they won't shut up. And now the haters and the detractors are getting louder, and that's cool. We'll take it, because it seems like when you piss Patrick off with that, all right, count me out. Watch this.
Yep. They drive off of it.
Absolutely. Before we take a break, you want to shout out your former teammates in the building?
Oh, yeah. We got a few former Chiefs in the building. Ring of Honor. Chiefs Honor Hall of Famer Neil Smith is here.
World champion Neil Smith.
Two-time
world champ.
We got Sean Barber here, former linebacker. Gary Stills in the building. G Stills. Pro Bowl.
Who else is back there? Clems.
Oh, Dwayne Clemens
is here.
DC, Dwayne Clemens here. I'm surrounded by too many defensive guys, yo. Need some offensive cats.
Yeah, we'll see if we can convince one of them. G Stills pitching Woo on the job. We'll see if we can get him to come over and spend a little time with us on the microphone here in just a little bit. We're going to take our first break as we're live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District for the championship show of the Red Hour as we celebrate on this Championship Wednesday your Kansas City Chiefs, the world champs. We'll be back in just a few moments. Live from Soiree, it's the Red Hour. And we're back. We're here, the Red Hour, live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District on this Chiefs Championship Wednesday, the final show of the year. I love closing out this show
with a win,
with a ring, with the Lombardi Trophy. It feels absolutely amazing. I have a lot of friends who play for the Chiefs and have played for the Chiefs. And here's another one of my brothers, my dude. Gary Stills joins us now at the microphone. G Stills.
Appreciate it.
What's up, bro?
Sean, before we get into it, G Stills, did you eat my catfish?
Oh man, I had my steak.
You know the catfish here at Soiree is fire right now, and it wasn't at my seat when I left. Did you eat my catfish?
Sean Barber's still sitting there, man. I had steak, brother.
Oh, you gonna blame it on Sean, who's not here to defend himself at the microphone?
You can't trust no defensive guys, man. You saw what James Bradbury did.
I had steak. I had a steak.
He held G Stills. You held my catfish. Somebody held my catfish.
I would check G Stills' pockets though. He looked like a catfish.
If I got a catfish in my pocket, bro, I promise you that's not a good thing.
Stills, let me ask you this. I've seen a lot of you guys come back and support the team, but I've never seen you guys come back and support like you are with this team right now. You guys were always right there and came so close. What makes this team so special that even you OGs rally around them the way y'all do?
Well, I just got back, connected with Kansas City in the Bachelor's program. I mean, I've been around. I never left Kansas City.
Right.
I went to a few other teams, played for Baltimore, and then played for the Rams. So I've been here pretty much half my life.
Right.
And them winning the Super Bowl twice in the last 3 years is, man, anybody would gravitate to it. You know what I'm saying? So once I saw the fire was lit, I kind of almost jumped on the bandwagon. I've been enjoying myself the whole time.
Put me in, coach.
He got back in shape.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. Yes, sir.
So Spags gets a bad rap sometimes. You're a defensive guy. And sometimes his play calling is questionable. Darren has even called him out a couple times, like,
He called the defense trash. Tell it what it is.
It is. He has.
He's taking me for it. I mean, it's real.
So we've seen this defense of this Kansas City Chiefs team, these championship teams, start off so slow that it's almost embarrassing and then show up like they do in the second half and in the championship rounds of these games. Why? Is it chemistry? Is it coaching? Is it that these guys just need to figure out what Spags is doing? Because Spags is almost like Andy Reid in a way where he comes up with so many different schemes that they have a lot to learn. What do you think it is that makes them start off slow and then come off like gangbusters?
I mean, I'm not sure about why they start off slow, but they end up great. Like I was talking about Frank. in the playoffs, every year he get a bad rap during the season. He come around in the playoffs and play great. You know, Chris always plays great. You know, defense is kind of, especially playing with Patrick Mahomes, man. You know, so if you score some points, you got defense come in. They make a few plays here and there. Even if when they make mistakes, they can get a bad rap. But I mean, hey, I think everybody's pretty much riding the wave. You know what I'm saying? So, hey.
And while we're talking about riding the wave, we got to send a shout out, MIZ.
ZOU.
Nick Bolton with the scoop and
yes,
score.
sir, man. Yo, he's impressive too, man.
Now, I was going to say, these young cats that we have right now, they are playing amazing. Well, they were. That season's over now, but geez.
Well, I like Spag's defense. It's because I'm a like a rover type back. You have Gay, you have Bolton. They pretty much playing, just running around and letting that defensive line play. So it looks like it's real unorthodox on the second level, but they get into the ball. You know what I'm saying? So they're making big plays. I like the defense. You know what I mean? I'm a defensive player. So.
Why you look at me?
Because you're looking me right in my eyes like you have a problem with what I just said.
It's just about that catfish.
That's all he's worried about.
I'm still waiting for my catfish, son. Check his pockets.
Man,
So, Dan, I'm gonna ask you this because you're hard on the defense in Spags. Are you convinced? Or are you still like iffy on Spag? No.
I was never iffy on him. I mean, I've talked to no.
Do you hear me sucking my teeth?
Most definitely.
That was last. You're about to trash. No.
Yeah, don't look my way when you say that. I'm gonna call you out.
Everybody move back from the table in case they didn't like this.
Light it for sure.
No, but going to answer your question, no. I mean, he did what he was paid to do. I mean, I thought this playoff run was going to be a testament to Steve Spagnuolo and his play calling. If you look back to what he did when they knocked off New England when they were undefeated, I thought that especially when Patrick got hurt in the Jacksonville game, the defense was going to step their game up to make sure that that whatever it took, that they were going to be able to overcome Jacksonville in the first game. And then, of course, the big question was in the Cincinnati game.
Mm-hmm.
They had beaten them 3 straight times, and the Chiefs had to lead in each of the games going into the fourth quarter, and they found a way to lose one way or the other. So the question was, how do you make sure that cycle doesn't repeat itself? I thought he called and I told him after each game, I thought he called a hell of a ball game against Jacksonville to help the team win. Hell of a ball game against Cincinnati. I mean, look, 5 sacks and 2 interceptions, and you're still tied 20-20. I mean, and win that game. So I thought he called a hell of a game. And then I knew going into the Philadelphia game, the big question was going to be, how do you stop this vaunted offense with Jalen Hurts? I knew that he'd be able to dial something up to be able to do it. I thought he did a hell of a job.
And on top of that, he had a bunch of young guys, all new secondary except Juan Thornhill and Jarius Sneed. Yeah. So being able to do that, you got to give him his flowers.
Did you think that the defense would play like they played in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, based off of what they did throughout the last couple of games, why would they not? I mean, I did pick them to win.
You did, but
okay. Sean, wow. I picked them winning 35-24, so they scored more points.
So can I make something clear? And G Stills, you could probably add to this and attest to this. There's way too much negativity that is thrown in the face of offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, right? Because the game plan, just because it works, the players make it work.
Right.
There's never a broken game plan. I would say this, the Eagles game plan defensively, like when you run 2 identical plays and score 2 touchdowns, that's a broken defensive game plan. That defensive coordinator should get all the arrows thrown at them, right?
But he got another job.
But if you,
that's Philly defense.
But if you play the Buffalo Bills this year or the Cincinnati Bengals during the regular season, and Joshua Williams is in the side pocket of
the catfish
Diggs, taking my catfish with him.
That's the catfish.
There's a defensive guy always stealing something, always taking something. He got a bag. He got my catfish in his bag right there. Y'all see it.
And it says "Have a nice day" on it.
Have a nice day.
Sean Barber.
I'll put that sea leaf from Color Purple on you right there.
Until you do right.
Right there. Until you do right by me. Everything you do. But I'm saying, though, okay, you go back. Okay, if we want to say, what's one game that I'm sure Darren criticized, not to point you
the
out,
Colts.
Okay, the Colts game, or let's say the Bills.
The Bills game.
Okay,
Definitely
we said the Bills game.
Yes.
Is it a bad scheme when you have Joshua Williams in the side pocket of Stephon Diggs and he just makes a good catch? That's not a scheme. That's not a bad scheme. That's not a bad defense. That's just a bad play or a tough play for a rookie to make.
You disagree?
Same thing.
Good
You
defense,
tell me,
better offense.
School me,
That was last
G
year.
Stills.
Okay, I'm gonna say.
No, I'm saying this year.
Let's
I
go
didn't
back
call
to
him
the,
out for any games.
based on this game. I feel like they wanted Hurts to beat Kansas City. He couldn't individually. There was nobody else on that team was going to ever beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of pressure on him, and the defense stopped it. It was period. They wanted him to beat Kansas City, period, because they wanted to supersede Mahomes.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Who won the MVP and they had a chip on it.
They
Yeah.
had no other weapon outside of Hurts. And when they stopped him, done deal. Kansas City won the Super Bowl.
But so do you, like, going back to the comment about a defense and a game plan? I don't feel like a defensive coordinator should be blamed unless you have such egregious plays like the Eagles had against us, where they lined up and we actually exploited them on two
twice.
specific plays for touchdowns
The same play.
in the same area of the field. Their tendencies told us something that their defensive coordinator.
I can
did not do.
look back
He got
about
promoted.
I can look back about 5 years ago. A guy named Bob Sutton.
Yeah.
That everybody wanted him gone.
Outside
So
of this,
Well, I called in there, but y'all don't give me credit for that. Like, you should have
Outside of
fired that dude.
basically outside of the defensive script, first 15, 16 plays of any football game is scripted. Outside of that, it's just based on them looking at the tendencies
matchups. Yeah.
and matchups. And if they can match up well and see what their tendencies and find their weaknesses, then they win. And most of the time, I look at it like, it could be a good catch against good defense coverage.
Yeah.
So,
That's my point, is that I don't feel like that should be an indictment on a defensive coordinator. If they say, G Stills, you're a linebacker, you got the tight end man to man.
right.
If you don't do your job, that's not his fault.
Well, sometimes it is, because you go back, look at. And I know this is last year, but look at when the Chiefs played Cincinnati, going up against Chase. There was no reason that Spags should have had a one-on-one on the outside. No reason after he's already up 150 yards on him in the first half.
Or how Denver for years
No way.
exploited us with the bootleg like we didn't know it was coming.
Yep.
So,
But I'm the bad guy.
But that was one.
Hey, I didn't call him out this year.
When they put in the
Yeah,
scheme
blame
and go
me.
against the fundamentals of how guys play, right? You remember the play with guy? Well, I can't even remember his name. So he was open. The post man didn't even jump the flat.
You talking about the
in the Super Bowl.
oh yeah.
The post man didn't jump the flat because he came and did a motion, and then he went back to the flat, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to run to the flat. He didn't because he was looking at the postman based on fundamental defense.
yeah.
That was a good play.
Yes.
That was a great offensive play. There's no defense could have stopped that.
Exactly.
Period.
That's my point, is that
And they don't play
to throw
bracket.
jabs.
They don't play bracket anymore.
But to throw jabs at the defensive coordinator for that,
You gotta throw it
it's
at
not,
somebody.
It's not correct.
They bracket Travis, right? They bracket Travis.
They always
I'm gonna
bracket.
tell you what, they played that real well because the scheme with the offense.
Yeah.
Now, if you double the number one, because Kansas City doesn't have a number one, number two, or number three receiver.
Yeah,
period.
true.
You don't know who's the
going-
number one receiver. It's based on the scheme, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever you double Travis,
Juju's
somebody else is
open.
open.
But
right?
you also got to
So whenever
realize you can
whenever
have something
bracket
drawn
Juju,
up.
Travis is open with the linebacker, and sometimes he play, and they'll play a nickel against Travis on first and second down. It doesn't make any sense
But I mean, but the thing is,
because it's trips.
all this is
it's like a
trips
it becomes a trips
with the motion and the shift.
with a pro set.
Yeah.
Because once you motion Travis Kelce out, then all of a sudden now you got three receivers.
Because that was also one of the other questions they asked over and over again during media week.
What's that?
Why is it that Travis Kelce always seems to
Right.
be open
Right.
in the middle of the
Because
field?
they take pro and turn it to queens, then all of a sudden, boom, you got a regular linebacker, and now all of a sudden he got to play nickel.
Yeah. But
No guard.
Part of nickel,
Yeah.
now he don't have outside and inside coverage. He can't carry.
Yeah.
He can't take him to the flag. He can't take him to both. So they took that same concept from Tom Brady and Gronkowski and brought it to Kelce and Mahomes with a more athletic tight end.
With some
and
wiggle.
they're dominating.
But the difference is that when you move and shift Travis Kelce, all of that stuff is drawn up based on him staying stagnant. right?
That's my point.
So if you move him behind, like if you got Darren's man-to-man on me right now, he's across the table. If I move inside, if I move inside.
I'm sorry.
Mismatch. Called it out.
Hey, man, I'm sitting there looking at my bench. I don't even know what that's talking about. I'm looking at my bench. I ain't worried about
Shots
that.
fired. Shots fired.
But I'm saying though, if he's
looking at my bench.
if he's man-to-man on me and I move inside of Steve, he can still be man-to-man on me, right?
Yeah.
If I move behind Steve, he can't be man-to-man on me because he don't know where Steve's going and he don't know what I'm going to do off of Steve's back, right? So my point is you can draw up a defense that works with your scout team in practice as you're practicing towards a Super Bowl.
I will say this about the Philadelphia Eagles defense. It didn't matter what they drew up against Travis Kelce. Once I saw Travis Kelce score that first touchdown and do a flawless stanky leg, it was over.
Yeah.
It was over.
Yeah, he did.
It was over.
Cat got some rhythm, yo.
He does.
Hey, hold on,
We're going to take another
funny
break.
thing, though, with seeing Peter King, like, what is he doing?
What is that?
What is trendy? I'm looking like, man, this is so crazy.
Hilarious. We're going to take another break as we do it live from Soiree's Taking Oyster House. It is a championship Wednesday as we celebrate the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl 57 is over with, and we are hoisting the Lombardi. And we're celebrating live down here on 18th and Vine. And we'll see if we can get D. Clem to come and sit down and talk a little bit with us as we continue on. It is the Red Hour. We'll be back in moments. From the historic 18th Divine, Soiree Steak and Oyster House in the historic Jazz District for the Red Hour. And we got rid of G Stills because he stole some catfish. But
it's a terrible shame, man. That's why we can't get nowhere as a people.
We have a more honorable defensive player coming up.
He wanted that catfish, man.
My man, Dwayne Clemens. What's up, bro?
Appreciate you, son.
Welcome. Yeah, because you don't live here anymore. So we was talking about the support and how you guys have, like, this team, you're like around it like never before. What is so special about this team where now you feel like, yes, it finally we've got what we've been fighting for so long?
Well, it's always started at the top. The Hunt family, they are the classiest organization. They're the way they approach people and the way they approach us, former players, is they've always engaged us. They've always created opportunities for us to be a part of what's going on in the here and now, where other teams have always tried to emulate it, but they've never been able to do that. And it's really just not in their character. You know, the character that the Hunt family is they really genuinely love their players. They respect us, and they show it in every way because they constantly give us opportunities to be a part of this.
And I will say I've seen more of you guys a part of the ambassador program and then go and intern in another team and then come back and work for the Kansas City Chiefs in some kind of capacity and stand here. Because a lot of these guys, of course, aren't from Kansas City, but they come and they play here and they see the people. And like you said, the Hunt family, they become family and they stick around and stay. So
What is it about Kansas City though that makes guys want to stay?
Well, I know I'm from California, so
Yeah.
it was obviously a much more affordable place to raise a family. But the family values here, when I, thinking about living in Oakland versus Overland Park,
Right.
it's a lot easier to send your kids to school and feel like, hey, they're not going to have to deal with a lot of the trials and tribulations that living in some of these other big states. And then, like I said, you can afford to give your kids opportunities to do so much more outside of, just because you're not focused on just paying bills and just living paycheck to paycheck. You can actually give them the opportunity to travel and experience things that they probably wouldn't get to do if you were on the grind in New York or a city like California.
that's dope.
Yeah, I know for me, being a Jersey cat and being out here since 1993, it's been a blessing for me to have 5 kids that I've brought through the school district here in Kansas City. And one great perk has been the embracing of us from the Chiefs fans, from the Chiefs kingdom, that whether we wore a jersey 30 years ago for one game or we played for 6 years or multiple years and we're still here 20, 30 years later, that I can still be a part of the community. There's still name recognition. There's still business opportunities. There's still connections here, like at this restaurant where the weird name guy, Damon, that nobody else has, still stands out. And I can enjoy myself, my life, my kids as well within this community. So there's so many different layers to it. That is why I stayed here instead of going back east.
Wow.
I also
Taxes,
love
too.
being here because of the outdoorsman stuff. Like I'm a big outdoorsman, so I love hunting, I love fishing, and being outdoors.
You
So,
definitely ain't hunting and fishing in Oakland.
Nah, you ain't gonna get that there.
Not in Jersey either. You might come up with Jimmy Hoffa.
Hell, someplace you fish here, you might come up with Jimmy Hoffa. But this Kansas City Chiefs team, they've gone to the Super Bowl 3 times in the last 5 years, and they've won 2 of those Super Bowls. And both times, and I feel more so this time, even though they've proved themselves in the previous 4, that they're more than capable of winning this championship regardless of the doubters. Why do you think the hate is so strong? Because we already know Joe Buck hates Kansas City for whatever reason. No matter what game he's calling, be it the Royals or the Chiefs, he's always hype on whoever their opponent is. But we proved time and time again this is a championship city. Why do you think that the national pundits come down on this team like there's no way this small market team can overcome what they've done and be world champs?
They truly don't want to believe in us. I mean, that's just, you can be in denial all they want, but they know that it's pretty much over with. The division, like everybody in the AFC West loaded up, said they were going to beat the brakes off us. They went out and got the best free agents, spent all their money, and they didn't even piss a drop against us. We swept them, and now Buffalo and Cincinnati, they got to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, man, these guys are younger than they've ever been. They're hungrier than they've ever been. They still got more talent than us, and they got nothing but upside potential because now we got cap space and we got a core that ain't going nowhere. I mean, how do you get past that?
And let's talk coaching for a second, because we understand that Eric Bieniemy, who is still overlooked for a head coaching position, is going out tomorrow to become a Washington Commanders possible new offensive coordinator. What is it that the rest of the league sees that obviously can't be a thing, because here we are hosting another Lombardi Trophy after 3 runs at the Super Bowl in 5 years?
Man, I could go on for hours on this topic. I think it's been the worst black stain, no pun intended, on the NFL over the last 4 years. It's never been a circumstance that we've seen in the history of the NFL that you could have a coordinator, offensive or defense, be the leader of a top shelf team or number 1 team for multiple years and not have a head coaching job. And the fact that it's a black man, the fact that we've strung it out where he's gotten up to 20 different interviews, 16 different interviews, and not one taker. Like it's so egregious of a part of the process that it makes it so ridiculous, and that you got a Jeff Saturday that comes out of the booth part-time to coach a Colts team. Now, some people might say, well, it was the middle of the season. They decided they wanted to run. Well, middle of the season, Like he's got it on his resume now.
Yeah,
Right.
He was a
He's
coach.
got
He was a
on his
head coach.
resume that he was a head coach
in the NFL.
and that's
Marvin
gonna
And they
Harrison
got
was
some
on the
wins.
team.
and
And
no
that part.
Yeah.
the other wide receiver from Miami was on the team. Should have been elevated. Like there's so many slaps in the face that we've experienced in the NFL when it's come to black coaches, and Eric Bieniemy like tops the list. Here's the problem that I have with him is that he's going to interview. He's already interviewed with the Colts for offensive coordinator. He's going to
Head
interview.
coach. Head coach. The coach was the head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also been considered for the offensive coordinator there, as well as where we're talking about the Commanders. Right? He is
I
set
don't
up.
like the lateral move
Yeah,
though. Like,
he's set up for
it's-
failure, right, Darren?
Yeah.
Because here's
That's
the
what I've always
situation.
said. If you go somewhere else, you're not going to have the same talent that you got here.
Well, the problem is, okay, once he goes, let's say he goes to the Commanders, let's say he goes to the Ravens, which we'll have talked to him about. What does he need to be? Top 8? Top 10? If he's anything worse than top 10 offense, then all these so-called pundits and experts will say, "Oh, it was all Andy Reid." Now, if he
But
goes there, so now he's cut off more than 2/3 of his opportunity because he has to go wherever he has to go in order to justify somebody hopefully hiring him.
And
He's
they
got to
can't
be
even
top
hold to
5.
that argument because Andy Reid has one of the strongest coaching trees in the NFL.
Exactly.
But again, now to his credit, Stephen A. Smith said a lot of blame falls on Andy Reid because if you stop thinking about it, Andy Reid wants to be the one calling the plays because I think
Was that blame on when Doug Peterson was there and Matt Nagy?
I get that, but again, they were born to parents who had a lot of cues, and then Eric Bieniemy's parents. What I'm saying is that what he's saying is that you could have, even though he has come out in public and said that Reid, or Bieniemy calls the plays, and Bieniemy last year, I asked him what the percentage was. He said he calls 52%. Andy Reid calls 48%. I think you might have been there, and he said that Andy can pull the trump card of being the head coach to overrun them. So I'm saying,
But here's the problem, and calling plays is
get
such
it.
a misnomer
I get it.
because there's so much chatter on those headsets.
Yep.
Just because you're the last voice that brings it to the quarterback, which Andy Reid has been
Doesn't
the
mean he
whole
called the play.
time, doesn't mean that he is the sole person that calls the plays, and it doesn't negate Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, or Eric Bieniemy as a force in calling the play. That's the problem I have is that because the media looks at the sideline and sees whose mouth is moving when Patrick Mahomes is tapping his helmet or doing this, they think, oh, he's the one calling the play. He's just the one that's relaying the play. The calling of the play and the scheming of the play and the game plan.
Even the design of some of those plays.
Yes, that's the problem. So we got to get away from this whole mindset of calling plays equates to offensive genius.
No, I get that, and I'm not going back for you about that because I've been the first to say after the first game when they scored 45 points, and then again against the Indianapolis game they only scored 16 or whatever. We saw right before halftime, Andy and I'm not Andy,
Eric
but
and
everybody was saying, "Oh, well, this is why he can't be head coach," and talking about him being fired. I'm like, well, wait a second. You don't want to credit the man when the team scores 45 points in the season opener, but you want to blame him for the loss.
And here's another thing: if he wasn't calling the plays, why would he be bickering?
And Patrick Mahomes has said over and over, he's like, this is one of the first coaches that he's had because he's so good
That's held him accountable.
that held him accountable. Yeah. And he says he elevates me week to week because he challenges me to be better, which is why you see some weeks Patrick Mahomes is subpar, and he has been this season in a couple of games. He was subpar. And then the following weeks, but like in this game.
And even in training camp, the only person with the walkie-talkie that is talking to the quarterback is Eric Bieniemy. Practice. Only person with a walkie is Eric Bieniemy talking to the quarterback.
And we just watched a defense fail in the Super Bowl, and their defensive coordinator just got.
Well, and the crazy thing was because I think a couple of players have said that Eric Bieniemy was the one that spotted. I think against when they played Jacksonville and Doug Peterson that those two touchdown plays that they got. Eric Bieniemy was the one that caught on to that early on in the season after they played him and was like, okay, we're gonna fool him with that jet sweep, and then when the time came to the Super Bowl. The two players who scored faked it out, and that was because he was the one. But everybody was trying to give credit to Andy Reid, even though Bieniemy was the one that spotted it and called him out on it.
Yeah.
The reality is there is collusion in the NFL, and these coaches and these
Oh,
owners, they get
It's going to be
together.
collusion on that guaranteed contract.
They
too.
got their list. They got
Yeah.
who's their hot guys and guys that are not going to ever get an opportunity. And whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, for us as black men, that's our reality. We don't necessarily get to be a part of those conversations behind those closed doors.
And it
This
has
is the
also
thing.
hurt them
Colin
as well
Kaepernick.
because we keep going to the AFC Championship. That technically, even though there's conversations that happen behind the scenes, like you saying, DC, technically he has not been available as of until February every single year.
But here's hold on. But here's the flip side. If they don't make the championship game, they're gonna be blaming him for it.
Yeah,
like, well, damn,
yeah,
I mean, you got.
I agree.
And here's the thing.
So he can't win.
Here's the thing I'm looking out for is if Eric Bieniemy takes one of the lateral moves to whether it's Washington and Baltimore.
Well, who does he
and
have
wait,
there?
wait, and Matt Nagy comes in and becomes offensive coordinator, and the following year he gets a head coaching job. Oh man, that's gonna say something.
It's gonna piss me off if come next year, if all that happens, and Matt Nagy's quote unquote calling plays. That's why I'm having a problem with that.
Yeah.
All right, but before we get out of here and close out this final show of the season, DC, before we get out of here, we've seen this team who has been the most efficient team in the NFL for the past 5 years. They've been the most consistent team in the NFL for the past 5 years. They're constantly going to the championship round, and they've made it to the Super Bowl 3 times. Next year, does this new Chiefs team for the 2023-2024 football season, are we looking at another run?
Absolutely. I mean, we're so young, and the fact that we got so many starters that are in their first year, and then a whole bunch of another group of starters that are just in their second and third year, they're going to do nothing but get better until they're like 5th, 6th, 7th year. So we haven't even seen their potential. So if we're already ahead of the curve winning championships with them as pups, we can only imagine what they're going to do once they're like full-fledged 4-year veterans, and now they've been here, done that, had 3 camps under their belt. They know the system. It's going to be
know
like
how to take care of their bodies too.
it's going to be like taking cake. It's going to be. It should be. I won't say a cakewalk, but it should be a much easier road than we had this year.
And with that being said, with the health, I was going to say with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, but even when he's not healthy, we see what he can do.
He's the best one-legged quarterback, two-legged quarterback in the league. He's better than 2/3 of the league with one leg, and like we should not doubt him. I hate the fact that this is now the offseason because all I'm going to hear about for the next 4 months,
Joe Burrow,
5
Josh
months.
Allen.
No,
Josh
it's
Allen,
no
Joe
longer
Burrow.
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Now it's going to be Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
going to
that's
be
fine.
sickening to me because, like, I understand the media. They got 3-4 hours to take
fill.
up every single morning, and the NFL is king, so they got to talk about something. But if you had held a gun to everybody's head and said, "Who's the best quarterback in the league?" or die, they all would say Patrick Mahomes.
Except
Right?
for Dan Orlovsky. You know, Patrick's a better player, but Burrows is a better quarterback.
Yeah, don't get
And
me
then just
started on
last year,
that.
he was a street ball player.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a street ball player. He
Yeah.
doesn't know how to read
Yeah.
defenses.
Yeah,
It's sad. It's a sad
playground football.
referendum.
That playground football never work in the NFL. So he lucked out. Guys, another successful season.
We doing early predictions already?
No, we ain't gonna let you. We ain't gonna let you
Right,
go. They're gonna
16,
go
17 and
20-0.
Yeah.
We're not gonna let you do that to yourself. But we will.
I got us going back to Vegas.
Super Bowl is in Vegas.
They are. They're playing the Raiders.
We have the NFL draft coming up this spring here in
Yes.
Kansas City, which is another big deal, and that is going to continue to help this Kansas City Chiefs team stay on the minds of the league. But with this quarterback and this team that we have hosting another trophy, they are yet still the team that you have to go through. What did Mitch Holtis say? You can disrespect them.
Oh my gosh, I should know this. You caught me like the SAT.
Dang it. Yeah, I call him world champs.
He said you can. Yeah, he said you can disrespect them, you can dislike them, you can downplay them, or whatever he said. I'm just
But you
spitballing out what he
gotta
said,
deal with them.
But you got to deal with them.
Got to deal with us.
And here we are, 5 years later, 5 AFC championship hosting 2-time Super Bowl champs.
Amen.
And we'll do it again
Amazing
next
run.
year. So thank you, Soiree Steak and Oyster House, Chef Anita and staff, to our fans and friends who have come out to support us all season long. We will see you next year for season 5.
There's always one. The guy, I don't even know what his name is, but he says don't count out Josh Allen and he'll be stronger next year. Come on, man.
Come on now.
Stop.
Let me put that sea leaf color purple on
Listen,
him.
I thought we
Whatever you do,
I thought we unfollowed Donald
everything
Trump.
you do.
Hey, get past Joe Burrow
I
first.
thought we unfollowed Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Get past Joe
Yeah,
Burrow.
he's black.
Oh, that's just the emoji. That's, they put the bots up. They make you think that so you can add them. But we thank you all so much for joining us all season long. And once again, we are the champions of the world.
Where's my catfish?
Give it up for those world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get Dana some more catfish. We are out of here. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you guys right after the guys head off to St. Joe and get ready for another season so we can start our season in the desert and end it in the desert like we did this year. They called it Burrowhead. We took it to Arizona, and we came back with the Lombardi. Peace, love. We'll see y'all later. Have a good time. It's the Red Hour next year. Woo.